Hey, Dagna here, welcome to my channel. Today I have a fun interview for you to check out if you ever thought about an engineering manager position. Join me for this conversation beyond code, where Anand and I are going to dive into how Toastmasters and attending meetups can really help your communication skills. And also Anand is going to give out some advice on what things to really take into consideration if you're considering making that switch from being an engineer to being a manager, or how he calls it, from being a creator to becoming the enabler. Ladies and gentlemen, and everybody else, Anand Safi. Woo! Hello, Anand. How's it going today?
All good, thank you.
I'm really glad that you decided to join us for The Mindful Dev, this YouTube channel, and that we're going to have some super awesome interview today. We have some valuable things to share with the audience. I really love how we connected over LinkedIn, and something that we had in common was caring about the human side of the technology and the career growth mindset. And something that stuck to me when you and I had a conversation prior to this interview was how we both see there's a lack of interviews describing journeys of people that are not a CTO just yet, right? That are in the middle and they're still moving forward. But also how there's not that many resources out there that highlight how important the soft skills are in the journey of a software engineer. So I would love to talk about this today in our interview. And let's start by you introducing yourself to the audience and telling us a little bit more about your journey.
Thank you, Dagna, for inviting me and speaking with me today. I am Anand Safi. I'm currently an engineering manager for Mark 43, which is a public safety SaaS company. Over the past decade, I have progressed from being an engineering individual contributor to becoming currently an engineering manager. And probably over the last 2 to 3 years is where I have been doing a lot of people management, and I have realized the importance of just conversations beyond code, if I may. So that is what has kind of just piqued my interest into researching a little bit more, talking to people a little bit more about this, and hence this interview today.
Yeah, and I was able to see your presentation titled, by the way, great title, From an Engineer to Manager, Not a Promotion. I feel like one thing that was missing there was 3 exclamation marks.
Absolutely, I should take that into account. I'll change that.
Something that really caught my attention in your presentation was essentially how you tell people how different the individual contributor role versus the engineering manager role is. And something that you describe in your presentation, I have it here on the second screen and just peeking at it. You mentioned that there's a significant difference between the heads down time writing code versus constant collaboration. And I mean, that's one of the obvious things, right? Engineers are supposed to create the code, while managers are supposed to, manage, and hence there's a lot more meetings. Then another thing that you mentioned in your slides was, something that maybe is not talked about as much is being comfortable with routine one-on-ones with your team, coaching, conflict resolution, and how success becomes more abstract whenever you become an engineer. So can you tell us a little bit more about, what is success for an engineering manager, and how do you end your day feeling fulfilled from what you've done? Because I mean, in coding, it's so much easier, right? You just write a feature, fix a bug, and boom, you get this dopamine boost and just, yes, I accomplished something. You have that feeling. What is success for an engineering manager?
Yeah, very, very right in that regards in terms of the individual contributor. When you roll out a feature, as you said, you get either a quality control person or like the product manager or the technical account manager say, yes, that works. I sent it to the customer, they say it's good, or we are live actually. So you feel that you have closed the circle or loop and you have had closure in terms of the work that you are doing. For an engineering manager, you're actually not working on anything. To your point, you are managing things. You are managing expectations. You're managing teams. You're managing deadlines. You're managing individual career paths for your direct reports. You're managing your own kind of day and career path actually. So the success becoming more abstract thought was related in terms of you need to, in your first 90 days as an engineering manager, you need to come up with your own metrics. So, and those could be totally non-numerical metrics. For me personally, when I reflect at the end of the day, if I did not have a conflict or if I did not have someone slack me directly saying that I'm frustrated with this process or this person or this PR, that is a win I will take actually. I will close my laptop in the next 5 minutes thinking my day is done in that regards. For me, if I am sitting in a meeting with the product manager or designer and they are aligned in terms of the engineering approach we are taking or the steps we need to take to push a feature out, alignment or clarity in the team is a huge success criteria for me actually. That means we don't have to spend time revisiting what we discussed, the same thing 3 weeks back in that regard. So there is no kind of restating the obvious and everyone is aligned from the get-go. So for me, it's peace of mind for people that are working on the team and they did not feel any pressure, along with alignment and clarity. Those are the success metrics and they are abstract. This is no numbers in terms of percentages or benchmarks that I use. That is why it's more abstract in that sense.
Yeah, absolutely. And it sounds like, a huge part of an engineering manager jobs too is communicating. So like getting that feedback, getting that input, trying to make sure that your engineers actually voice out their concerns and come to you and you build a trust with them. So, in those terms, it's really important to hone those soft skills. Now, the one thing that we did discuss prior to this interview was also how you and another coworker of yours started this initiative and you brought Toastmasters to your company to help engineers kind of like brush off their soft skills and be able to present their technical skills, the features that they've implemented. Can you tell us a little bit more about that? I thought that was such a cool idea.
Yeah, so Toastmasters happened to be a tool or a great framework that worked for us in terms of an existing solution. But the underlying problem we were trying to solve is getting people across disciplines or even within their own discipline to collaborate more and communicate more just beyond the day-to-day work actually. The format that we used was there would always be icebreaker speeches from each member participant in the club.
Oh, nice.
And there would be improv style or impromptu Q&A questions. So what would be that one vegetable you would eat, like if you were kind of just given a choice to have only one vegetable to pick on the entire earth and everyone will go. So that led to just conversations and bonding, but the key element there was icebreaker speeches. And what I mean by that is when people shared their journeys, one thing was they became more vulnerable. My own journey in terms of say for me personally it was immigration challenges or just kind of being from India and just trying to find my foot in the US in terms of the work visa situation, and then more people connected from their own backgrounds, and that helped me indirectly. What I think now, when I'm now in a conversation with a stakeholder, that being vulnerable and being honest helps me say and give them the straight scoop that yes, we are struggling on the engineering front, give us a sprint more, we are trying to figure out, rather than setting false expectations or always saying I am in control, I got this, and then not being able to deliver. So the public speaking was, if you're able to speak to a crowd that you work with day to day and open up about your experiences and just kind of your shortcomings in your own unique way, that just helps you more naturally that people can develop trust and understanding when you talk in work-based conversations. Actually, that those skills or characteristics naturally translate when then you will talk about a feature development. Actually,
that's true. That is very true. So I can hear how, Toastmasters not only helped the engineers that worked with you at the time, but also you yourself as the manager, having to push back on deadlines or, ask for more time in order for your team to actually be able to deliver whatever was promised. Now, in my coaching practice, what I do with some of my clients when I see that they are in need of practicing communication skills is ask them to participate in meetups. Meetup is similar to Toastmasters, except you can have a meetup on any topic, whatever you want. And there's a lot of dev meetups, actually. So, in a meetup, you could come up and present, just like in Toastmasters, and share your knowledge. And that helps to not only understand what your knowledge level is, but to just kind of verbalize that knowledge that is in your head. And sometimes it's really hard to like pass it to the other person, right? Because it's right here and you completely understand what you're doing, but explaining it to someone else, well, that's a craft in itself. So sharing knowledge, practicing communication, but also networking is really valuable. You did mention that in your case, Toastmasters was a closed event. It was for building more connections within people in the company, right?
Right. So it was a dual track in that sense. If we did Toastmasters, we also did a lot of meetups as a team.
Okay.
Because that is where there is the personality aspect and then there is the skill aspect. The skill aspect for that sense, meetup is great. You need strangers, right? Because people have doubts that what if what I'm sharing, is it the right solution? What would my colleagues think that I'm just not knowing this little thing? What if I make a goof up while the demo in front of my own colleagues, my boss is sitting right there? So at that point, you need total strangers that it doesn't matter even if you have a mix up or you say something wrong, you will learn from that actually. So the combination of that and Toastmasters in that sense is I think a great recipe for success.
Yeah, absolutely. And now I want to go back to your presentation for a moment. And if someone is a software engineer right now and they're considering management track, what would be the main things that you would tell them what they need to consider? Like 3 to 5 main points that they need to consider before making that jump. And that, again, that's based on your presentation from engineer to manager, not a promotion.
Right. Yes. So at a high level, first is just really asking your own self the question of why I want to become a manager. Make sure that it is not being forced upon you. That I mentioned in one of the slides that if it's tenure based, I have had personal experiences with folks that were just kind of handed over the managerial responsibilities and they realized 6 months down the road, this is not for me. And then they felt I'm too shy to bring it up because maybe that is a downgrade or my compensation would become lower, those things. So they just kind of were struggling to just stay a manager. So first understand that it is interest-based actually. And if it is interest-based, the next sub point is why you are interested. More authority, more compensation, more power dynamics, more delegation. They were kind of pretty outdated at this point. That is not hierarchical management works nowadays. Engineering manager is probably at the same kind of horizontal level as a senior engineer. So you do a lot of hands-on work, but it's just a different responsibility set in that regard. And it's not that an engineering manager has the power or authority to fire someone in today's world and teams actually. So just understand the interest. The second is be okay with what you are giving up. If what makes you happy as an engineer is having less meetings, is having less prompts to sit in interviews, if the kind of happiness for you as an engineer, individual contributor, is having less administrative tasks, less documentation for strategy and planning, not engineering documentation, but just those kind of documentation needs, then probably it's not the best move for you actually. And a lot of things related to that are also companies need to give engineers the psychological safety that there is an individual contributor career ladder, and not kind of at some point kind of force people to think whether I need to be a manager to just survive or just kind of grow in this company in that regard.
Yeah, I think that companies now are discovering like, hey, actually talented engineers very often make very poor managers, because what fires them up is the creation, the code, the solving the problems, the geeking out about different problems and, trying to figure out how to solve them. And there are now staff engineers, which is even higher than senior engineers, but someone who gets pulled to meetings and is kind of like a subject matter expert and can weigh on solutions or where the software should go which way. So in those terms, I feel like there's staff engineer could be like the next step after a senior engineer if someone does not want to go into management, right? With that being said, in your slides, you also mentioned this concept, creator versus enabler. And I feel like this was something that hit home for me because creator, a lot of engineers really want to be in engineering, writing code, solving problems, because this joy of creation being there and that dopamine hit that we mentioned earlier. But whenever you're an enabler and you have a team assigned to you, I feel like you can accomplish so much more because now you're not the only person working on something, but you have a crew of people working towards the same goal, right? So you can have like bigger accomplishments in a way. You just have to be more patient.
Yes, absolutely. So, and that also ties to understanding your interest for a manager role, because there are folks who do great and are very honest, like in terms of current engineers that I work with, that I want to focus on one area only. I don't want to juggle many things at once, because that's when I start to lose my finesse or my efficiency, and then I just kind of end up pushing out mediocre things actually. So for the creator, they can have the luxury that they can be involved with only one singular thing at a time. Say, this is your focus for the week, this is your goal, this is the area of the code that you will be implementing against. For the enabler part, you need to enable many creators, and you need to enable kind of just the roadmap or the continued kind of progression as well. So the enable part is both internal and external actually. Internally, you need to enable each of your creators to kind of progress in their individual goals for the week. That just rolls up to a collective team progression. But then you need to also enable your stakeholders and leadership to plan for the future. They need to be able to trust you that what is being created now in your team will not kind of need second thoughts or will scale up, will have the quality and efficiency baked in actually. So you need to just enable them to plan for the future while enabling your team to deliver on the present actually. So that is just, there is a lot of the balancing act at play when you're trying to enable multiple processes and roadmap items both internally and externally.
Yes, absolutely. I totally agree. Well, we're coming up to the end of the hour, and I wanted to really thank you for your time today, Anand. It was really great connecting with you, talking about the difference between software engineer and software manager, and having a look into your own journey and how you progressed in your career. Thank you so much, Anand. Now, how can people find you if they wanted to connect with you?
Thank you so much, Dagna, for having me. It was great to just share my thoughts and experience with you, but also learn more about the wonderful work you are doing with Mindful Dev and coaching engineers actually. I would love to stay connected with people, and the best way would be through LinkedIn. I am fairly active. That is my number one social media of use. So you can find me by my name, Anand Safi, on LinkedIn, and always happy to talk about all things technology and engineering cultures and team dynamics.
Awesome. I'll make sure to link you to put the link down below so people can just click and easily find you. Thanks again, Anand, and I'll talk to you later.
Thank you so much. Talk to you later. Bye.
Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and if you're interested in learning more about my coaching services, why don't we connect? I mean, that's what this video is for us to connect. Yep. So go ahead and click on that link down below and talk soon. Cheers.